When advocacy meets action, the ripple effect of amplifying Black women's voices. Have you ever witnessed something so powerful that it changed the entire trajectory of your life? That moment when you realize your voice isn't just sound, it's a force capable of moving mountains. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Kat McKinney, a true warrior for justice whose work has transformed countless lives across America. As CEO of BLKWMT, leader of Black Women of Faith, and organizer for Black Lives Matter Arizona, Kat embodies what it means to live with purpose and conviction. Her story isn't just inspiring, it's revolutionary. She stands as a lighthouse for those navigating the darkest storms of injustice, illuminating paths forward with wisdom born from both struggle and triumph. Today, I want to share with you the profound insights Kat offered about advocacy, amplification, and economic empowerment that can change not just individual lives, but entire communities. When Kat speaks about advocacy, she doesn't just mean posting a black square on Instagram or retweeting a hashtag. No, she means putting your body, your resources, your reputation on the line for what matters. She means showing up when cameras aren't rolling, when hashtags stop trending, when the crowd has gone home. True transformation, Kat emphasized during our conversation, begins with advocacy by shining a light on injustice and supporting those who are underserved. It's about creating ripples that lead to real, tangible change. But what does that actually look like in practice? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a city council meeting, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, wooden benches filled with concerned citizens. At the front, officials make decisions affecting thousands of lives, often behind a veil of procedural jargon and bureaucratic distance. That's exactly where Kat positioned herself after witnessing injustice during protests in Los Angeles. She recognized that sustainable progress required moving beyond street activism into the boardrooms where decisions were actually being made. As she told me with a knowing smile, we can march all day, but if we're not at the table when policies are written, we're just exercising our legs, not our power. Through her work with Black Lives Matter Arizona, Kat led campaigns advocating for policy reforms following high profile incidents impacting minority residents. The challenges were immense. Entrenched interests resistant to change, systemic inequities baked into the very policies they were fighting to reform, and community members skeptical that their voices would ever truly matter. But here's where Kat's genius shines through. She didn't just show up as an activist, she showed up as a minister, a nurse, a mother, a grandmother, leveraging every aspect of her identity to build credibility across diverse groups. She created town halls that blended legal education with spiritual encouragement, ensuring participants felt supported holistically, not just politically, but emotionally too. The results? Several proposals were adopted locally, including improvements in police accountability procedures that set precedents cited by neighboring cities. Hundreds found justice through new complaint mechanisms. Public confidence grew as more citizens saw their input reflected in lawmaking outcomes. This is what advocacy looks like when it's done with intention, with strategy, with heart. It's not glamorous, it's not quick, but it works. But advocacy alone isn't enough, which brings me to the second powerful insight from my conversation with Kate, the critical importance of amplifying Black women's voices. How many times have you turned on the television, opened a magazine, or scrolled through social media only to see Black women's stories either completely absent or painfully distorted? The mainstream media has a long history of overlooking or misrepresenting stories about Black women, creating a narrative vacuum that has real consequences for how we see ourselves and how others see us. Kat's response to this problem wasn't to simply complain about it. She built something revolutionary. No, Launched as a dedicated network, amplifying the voices of Black women in media, Buckman TV quickly transcended being just another channel to become a movement. The challenges were significant: industry bias, resource limitations, and the sheer magnitude of creating authentic representation at scale. But Kat didn't do it alone. She built strong partnerships within activist circles, leveraged social platforms for storytelling, and most importantly, curated content directly from the community. The result? A platform that provided space for hundreds of women to share their experiences publicly, resulting in increased awareness around key issues affecting minority communities. The idea for BLKWMN TV came from Kat's repeated encounters with marginalized voices during protests, where she witnessed firsthand how powerful collective storytelling could be when given an audience. Within its first year, the network produced dozens of original programs featuring underrepresented leaders and partnered with grassroots movements across several states to broadcast live events celebrating local heroes. Perhaps most powerfully, the platform inspired similar initiatives nationwide while empowering viewers, especially young girls, to see themselves reflected positively in media spaces they once felt excluded from. As Maya Angelou once said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. BL Quran TV ensures that Black women's stories don't remain untold, that they are celebrated, amplified, and honored. But here's where Kat's wisdom takes another crucial turn. Advocacy and amplification must be accompanied by economic empowerment, because without economic power, other forms of power remain frustratingly out of reach. Through her public relations work representing Black business owners and political figures throughout Arizona and nationally, Kat has helped elevate brands previously overlooked by mainstream channels. She recognized a fundamental truth. Black owned enterprises often lack access to capital and networks needed for sustained growth, due partly to systemic discrimination. Her solution, securing high profile media appearances and facilitating introductions between entrepreneurs, investors, and community partners via events organized under banners like Black Women of Faith. These connections translated into tangible contracts and new clients. The outcomes speak for themselves. Dozens of businesses reported record sales quarters after being featured and promoted through these efforts. Several proteges have since launched second locations, hired staff, and given back philanthropically, creating a virtuous cycle now celebrated annually within the network's own award ceremonies. As Kat shared with me, economic empowerment isn't charity, it's justice. When we support Black businesses, we're not just buying products or services, we're investing in communities and families and futures. This three pronged approach, advocacy, amplification, and economic empowerment, creates a framework for sustainable change that extends far beyond temporary fixes or symbolic gestures. But here's the question that keeps me up at night. What if Kat McKinney had never found her voice? What if she had stayed silent in the face of injustice? What if she had accepted the status quo instead of challenging it? The world would be immeasurably poorer. Hundreds of women whose stories have been shared on BLKWN TV would remain unheard. Policy reforms that have brought justice to communities would never have materialized. Businesses that are now thriving would be struggling or non existent. And that's the power of one voice that refused to be silenced, one voice that inspired others to speak up too, one voice that created space for a chorus. So, what does this mean for you? For us, it means that your voice matters more than you know. It means that when you speak up against injustice, even when it feels like shouting into the void, you're creating ripples that may become waves. It means that when you amplify the voices of those who have been marginalized, you're helping to correct a historical imbalance that has silenced too many for too long. It means that when you intentionally support Black owned businesses, you're not just making a purchase, you're making a statement about what kind of world you want to live in. CAT challenges us not only to advocate when we see injustice, but also to actively seek out ways we can support minority led initiatives within our own spheres, whether it's sharing someone's story online, shopping at local Black owned businesses, or volunteering our expertise so others may rise alongside us. Proverbs 31, 8, 9 reminds us, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. This isn't just good advice, it's a moral imperative, an imperative that Kat McKinney has embodied throughout her career as she fights for justice, amplifies voices, and creates economic opportunities. I want to leave you with an affirmation that Kat shared with me, one that she repeats to herself daily. My voice is not just for me, it carries the echoes of my ancestors and creates pathways for those who will come after me. I will use it wisely, boldly, and with purpose. Today, I'm not asking you to simply nod in agreement. I'm asking you to act. Right now, take out your phone. Find one Black woman owned business to support this week. Identify one Black woman's voice you can amplify on your social platforms. Discover one organization fighting for justice that you can donate your time, money, or skills to. Because change doesn't happen through inspiration alone, it happens through deliberate, consistent action. When we leave this room today, the true measure of this talk's success won't be in how moved you felt in the moment. It will be in what you do differently tomorrow. The world doesn't need more passive observers. It needs people willing to stand in the gap, to use their privilege as a platform, to risk comfort for the sake of justice. As Kat McKinney has shown us, when advocacy meets action, when voices are amplified, when economic empowerment is prioritized, that's when true transformation begins. So I ask you, what will your ripple effect be? How will your voice change the world? The time for silence is over. The time for action is now.